Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the stars move slowly across the viewing screen. His vessel was small compared to the massive warships of the Galactic Union. The other species called it outdated. They called it weak. But it was home to Dae-ho and his crew of 50 humans. Earth had joined the Galactic Union only 3 years ago. Humanity was the newest member, and everyone treated them like children who did not understand how the galaxy worked. The alien species had traveled between stars for thousands of years. Humans had barely left their own solar system before making first contact. Dae-ho did not mind the disrespect. He had a job to do. Ambassador Hee-jin Park represented Earth in the Union capital. She needed protection as she traveled between worlds, negotiating trade agreements and trying to earn respect for humanity. Dae-ho's ship followed her everywhere. Today they were returning from a diplomatic meeting in the Outer Rim. The journey was quiet. Too quiet. Dae-ho trusted his instincts and something felt wrong. Yoon-seo Lee, the ship's science officer, looked up from her station. She was young, barely 25, but brilliant. She could speak 6 alien languages and understood technology better than anyone Dae-ho had ever met. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal," Yoon-seo said. Her voice was calm, but her fingers moved quickly across the controls. "It is coming from the Valkorian mining colony on Praxis 7. The Valkorians. Dae-ho knew them well. They were one of the most powerful military forces in the Union. Tall, armored beings with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like fire. They treated humans with open contempt. To them, humanity was nothing more than a primitive species that got lucky. "What does the message say?" Dae-ho asked. "They are under attack, raiders. The colony is being evacuated, but their ships cannot carry everyone. They are asking for help from any vessel in range." Yoon-seo paused. "Captain, we are the only ship close enough to respond. The Valkorian military fleet is 3 hours away." Dae-ho felt the weight of the decision settle on his shoulders. His ship was not built for combat. They had basic weapons, enough to scare off pirates, but nothing that could stand against a coordinated raider attack. If they went to help, they might die. But if they did nothing, thousands of Valkorians would die. Ambassador Hee-jin appeared on the bridge. She must have heard the distress call. Her face was serious, but her eyes were steady. "Captain," she said quietly, "I know what you are thinking. We do not have to go. No one would blame us." Dae-ho looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his order. He thought about Earth. He thought about what humanity stood for. Humans helped people. It was what made them different. "Set course for Praxis 7, Dae-ho said. "Maximum speed. Prepare the weapons and get the medical bay ready. We are going in." The ship turned sharply and jumped to faster-than-light travel. Minutes later, they dropped out near the mining colony. What Dae-ho saw made his heart sink. 5 raider ships surrounded the colony. They were firing on the evacuation vessels, destroying them one by one. Bodies floated in space. Debris from shattered buildings drifted like snow. "Raiders are targeting the civilian ships," Yoon-seo reported. "They are not even trying to steal anything. They just want to kill." Dae-ho gritted his teeth. These were not normal pirates. These were murderers. "Target the nearest raider ship," he ordered. "Fire everything we have." Then move to shield the evacuation vessels. His crew moved like a machine. Missiles launched. Energy weapons fired. The first raider ship exploded in a ball of fire. The other raiders turned toward Dae-ho's ship, surprised that anyone had dared to fight back. The battle was brutal. Dae-ho's ship took hit after hit. Alarms screamed. Fires broke out on multiple decks. But they did not run. They stayed between the raiders and the civilians, using every trick Dae-ho had learned in the Earth Navy. Yoon-seo's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, one of the evacuation ships is damaged. It cannot jump to safety. There are children on board. Can we dock with it?" Dae-ho asked. "Yes, but we will be vulnerable while we do it." "Do it." The ship shuddered as it connected with the damaged vessel. Yoon-seo ran to the airlock with a team of crew members. They pulled terrified Valkorian civilians through one by one, mothers clutching children, old ones who could barely walk. Workers still covered in mining dust. One child, no more than 5 years old by human standards, was trapped under debris. Yoon-seo pulled the metal aside with her bare hands, ignoring the blood running down her arms. She lifted the child and carried him to safety. The child's father was waiting. He was a Valkorian commander, his armor scorched and damaged. When he saw his son alive, his glowing eyes dimmed with relief. He looked at Yoon-seo and said something in his own language. She did not understand the words, but she understood the meaning. Thank you. The last raider ship fled when it realized it could not win. Daho's vessel was barely holding together, but they had saved over 2,000 lives that day. When the Valkorian fleet finally arrived, they found humans pulling their people from the wreckage. The Valkorian commander was Thelvar, the same one whose son Yunseo had saved. He walked through the damaged corridors of the human ship, seeing the blood on the walls and the bodies of crew members who had died protecting his people. Ambassador Hyejin met him in the cargo bay, which had been turned into a temporary medical center. Valkorian civilians lay on makeshift beds while human doctors treated their wounds. Thelvar stood tall and proud, but his voice was different than before. Quieter. You saved my people. You saved my son. By our traditions, I owe you a debt. Hyejin smiled gently. We do not help people because we expect something in return. We help because it is right. Thelvar's eyes flickered. For a moment, it seemed like he might say something kind. Then his pride returned. Still, a debt is a debt. I will remember this. His tone made it clear he did not like owing anything to humans. Hyejin's smile faded. She looked directly at him. We remember those who stand beside us in hard times, and we remember those who do not. Thelvar said nothing. He turned and left. Days later, at a ceremony in the Union capital, the Valkorians publicly thanked humanity. They gave speeches about cooperation and friendship. But privately, Thelvar told his officers that humans had simply been lucky. They were still primitive, still weak. Captain Daho heard the rumors. He stood with Yunseo on the observation deck of a Union station watching the stars. Do you think they will remember what we did? Yunseo asked. Daho shook his head slowly. I do not know, but we will remember. That is what humans do. We remember. He did not know how true those words would become. 3 years passed. Humanity slowly earned a place in the galaxy through hard work and honest trade. Earth sent scientists to share medical knowledge.
Human engineers helped build stations in dangerous regions of space.
Human merchants offered fair prices and kept their promises. The galaxy began to see humans differently. Not as primitives, but as partners. Captain Daho had been promoted to fleet commander. He oversaw the protection of human colonies that now dotted the Terran Belt, a region rich in minerals and perfect for settlement. 12 colonies, 50,000 humans, families building new lives under alien stars. Yunseo had become the chief liaison between Earth and the Union. She traveled constantly, teaching alien species about human culture and learning everything she could about the galaxy. She still remembered the Valkorian child she had saved. Sometimes she wondered if he remembered her. Ambassador Hyejin stood before the Galactic Union Council and presented a proposal. Earth wanted to officially claim the Terran Belt. Humans had discovered it. Humans had settled it. Under Union law, it should belong to humanity. The Council seemed ready to approve. Then Commander Thelvar stood. He had grown more powerful over the years. His military victories had made him a hero among the Valkorians. Now he commanded the largest fleet in the Union, and his voice carried weight in the council chambers. I object, Thelvar said. His voice echoed through the hall. The Terran Belt was marked as Valkorian territory 2,000 years ago. Ancient law gives us the right to claim it. Hyejin felt her blood run cold. She pulled up the records. Thelvar was technically correct. The Valkorians had sent a probe to the region millennia ago, before humans had even discovered fire. They had never settled there. Never mined there. Never cared about it until now. That law's outdated, Hyejin argued. The Terran Belt has been empty for thousands of years. Humanity has invested resources, sent families, built infrastructure. We have prior claim through occupation and development. The council members whispered among themselves. Some agreed with Hyejin. Others feared angering the Valkorians. Thelvar smiled. It was not a kind smile. The law is clear. The Terran Belt belongs to the Valkorian people. Humanity will vacate the region within 30 days, or we will remove them by force. The council voted. Fear won over justice. The Valkorians got what they wanted. Hyejin could not believe it. She stood and looked directly at Thelvar. You owe us a debt. We saved your people. We saved your son. Have you forgotten? Thelvar laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. That was 3 years ago. A minor incident. You think saving a few colonists gives you the right to claim valuable territory? You do not understand galactic politics. This is how the galaxy works. The strong take what they want. The weak lose what they cannot defend. Heejin's hand shook with anger. We saved your son. And I thanked you, Thelvar said dismissively. But gratitude does not change borders. Leave the Terran Belt or face the consequences. Earth tried to negotiate. They offered to share the territory. They offered to pay for the rights. They offered everything except giving up the homes of 50,000 people. The Valkorians refused every offer. On day 31, Thelvar's fleet arrived at the Terran Belt. 200 warships. The largest military force ever assembled against humans. Captain Deho gathered every human ship he could find. 15 vessels. Most were cargo ships with basic weapons. He knew they could not win, but he would not abandon the colonists without a fight. Yunseo was on one of the colonies helping evacuate families. She watched the Valkorian fleet approach through the observatory windows. Her hands gripped the railing so hard her knuckles turned white. Deho sent one last transmission to Thelvar. Please, give us time to evacuate everyone safely. There are children here, families, we are not soldiers. Thelvar's response was simple. You had 30 days. Time is up. The Valkorian fleet opened fire. The human ships tried to fight back. They tried to protect the colonies. But it was like throwing stones at a mountain. One by one, the human vessels were destroyed. Deho's flagship took a direct hit. The engines exploded. The ship broke apart. Deho's last transmission was simple. Tell Earth, tell them we did not run. Tell them we protected our people until the end. Then his ship was gone. The colonies burned. Missiles rained down on the settlements. Buildings collapsed. Thousands died in the first hour. Yunseo managed to get some survivors onto evacuation shuttles, but there were not enough ships for everyone. She watched families torn apart. She watched children crying for parents who would never answer. She watched everything humanity had built in the Terran Belt turn to ash. When her shuttle finally escaped, she looked back at the burning colonies. Tears ran down her face. But behind the tears, something else was growing. Something cold and hard. Rage Ambassador Heejin appeared before the Galactic Union Council one last time. Her face was pale. Her voice was steady. The Valkorians attacked human colonies without warning. They killed thousands of civilians. They murdered our defenders who were only trying to protect families. She looked at each council member in turn, and not one of you said anything. Not one of you tried to stop them. The council remained silent. Some looked ashamed. Most looked away. Heejin's voice grew colder. Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Union. We will no longer participate in your councils. We will no longer trade with Union members. We will no longer consider you allies or friends. Thelvar stood. Is that supposed to frighten us? You are one primitive species. You mean nothing. Heejin turned to face him directly. Her eyes were like ice. We saved your people. We saved your son. And you repaid kindness with murder. That is politics, Thelvar said with a shrug. You will learn. No, Heejin said quietly. You will learn. Humanity never forgets a debt. We remember those who help us. And we remember those who betray us. She paused. You will discover what it means to have humanity as an enemy. She walked out of the council chamber. Behind her, the alien species whispered among themselves. Some thought her words were empty threats. Others felt a chill run down their spines. Earth went silent. All human ships returned home. All trade stopped. All communication ended. The galaxy lost contact with humanity. Months passed. Then a year. Then 2 years. The Valkorians settled the Terran Belt. They built their own colonies on the ruins of human homes. Thelvar was celebrated as a hero who had expanded Valkorian territory without losing a single soldier. The galaxy forgot about humanity. They assumed humans had accepted their place as a weak species. They assumed humans had given up. They were wrong. On Earth, something was happening. Something the galaxy would soon learn to fear. Commander Thelvar stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the empty space ahead. His fleet surrounded him, 300 warships. The largest military force ever assembled in Valkorian history. He had positioned them near the primary military base in the Valkorian core systems. If humans were coming, they would find an army waiting. But days passed. Nothing happened. No human ships appeared. No attacks came. Some of his officers began to think the message had been a bluff. Thelvar knew better. He could feel something watching. Waiting. Then, without warning, space itself seemed to tear open. Human ships emerged from stealth less than 100 kilometers from the Valkorian fleet. They appeared like ghosts, materializing out of nothing. One moment the scanner showed empty space. The next moment, 300 human vessels surrounded the Valkorian force. Thelvar's bridge erupted in chaos. Officers shouted reports. Alarms screamed. How had the humans gotten so close without being detected? "All ships, battle formations," Thelvar commanded. "Prepare to fire." Before his fleet could move, the human ships attacked. But they did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, they launched electromagnetic pulse missiles. The missiles exploded in brilliant flashes of blue light. Every Valkorian shield generator went offline. Every weapon system failed. Even basic communications stopped working. The mighty Valkorian fleet floated helpless in space. Admiral Jin Woo Choi watched from the command deck of the human flagship. His face showed no emotion. This was not personal. This was justice. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Small human boarding craft launched from the main fleet. They attached to Valkorian ships like parasites. Teams of human soldiers cut through hulls and entered the disabled vessels. The Valkorians tried to fight back with handheld weapons, but the humans had prepared for that too. They used non-lethal weapons, stun grenades, sonic disruptors, sleep gas. They did not want to kill. They wanted to capture. Within 3 hours, the entire Valkorian fleet had been boarded and secured. Not a single ship escaped. Not a single human soldier died. Yoon Seo led a special team to Thelvar's flagship. She moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency. She knew this ship's design. She had studied Valkorian vessels for 2 years, learning every weakness, every vulnerability. She found Thelvar on his bridge, surrounded by unconscious officers. He stood alone, a ceremonial blade in his hand. His armor was damaged. His pride was shattered. "You?" Thelvar whispered when he saw her. Recognition dawned in his eyes. "The one who saved my son?" "Yes," Yoon Seo said calmly. She kept her weapon lowered but ready. "Do you remember that day? You said you owed us a debt." Thelvar's hand tightened on his blade. "I thanked you. That should have been enough. We asked nothing in return," Yoon Seo said. "We helped because it was right. But then you attacked our people. You killed our families. You destroyed our homes." Her voice remained steady, but her eyes were cold. "You laughed at us when we asked for mercy." Thelvar said nothing. "I am giving you a choice," Yoon Seo continued. "Surrender yourself and face trial for war crimes. Help us bring justice. Or refuse and watch everything you built crumble." "You think you have won," Thelvar said bitterly. "You have taken one fleet. The Valkorian Empire has hundreds more. We know," Yoon Seo said, "and we are prepared. We studied you. We learned how you think, how you fight, how you make decisions. You believe war is about power and size. You believe the strongest fleet wins." She stepped closer. "But humans do not fight like that. We fight smart. We adapt, we survive. And we never, ever forget." Thelvar looked at the unconscious officers around him. He thought about his fleet disabled in minutes. He thought about human soldiers who had swept through his ships like a surgical strike. He had underestimated them. He had called them primitive, weak, insignificant. He had been wrong. The blade slipped from his fingers and clattered on the floor. "Admiral," Jinwoo broadcast a message to the entire Galactic Union. His face appeared on screens across 1,000 worlds. "This is Admiral Jinwoo Choi of the Earth Defense Force. 2 years ago, the Valkorian Empire attacked human colonies and murdered thousands of innocent people. The Galactic Union watched and did nothing. You called us weak. You called us primitive. You thought we would simply disappear." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Today we have captured the entire Valkorian core fleet without killing a single soldier. We disabled their weapons. We boarded their ships. We took their commander prisoner. And we did it in less than 3 hours. Across the galaxy, species watched in stunned silence. This is not conquest," Jinwoo continued. "This is justice. Commander Thelvar will stand trial for his war crimes. The Valkorian Empire will return the Terran Belt to humanity. They will pay reparations to the families of those they murdered." He leaned forward, his eyes hard as steel. "Let this be a lesson to every species in the galaxy. Humanity does not seek war. We seek peace, but we will not be victims. We will not be forgotten, and we will never forgive those who betray us." He stood up. "You will all witness what happens when humanity remembers." The transmission ended. In the Galactic Union Council chambers, Ambassadors from hundreds of species sat in shocked silence. The Valkorians, the most powerful military force in the Union, had been defeated in hours. By humans. By the species they had dismissed as primitive and weak. Some species felt satisfaction. The Valkorians had been bullies for too long. Others felt fear. If humans could do this to the Valkorians, what could they do to anyone else? Ambassador Heejin appeared at the council for the first time in 2 years. She walked to the center of the chamber with her head held high. She was older now, wearier, but stronger. Humanity has returned, she said simply, not as supplicants, not as victims, but as equals. She looked around at the assembled species. We are willing to rejoin the Union, but things will be different. The old ways where the strong bully the weak must end. We propose a new treaty, a new structure based on equality and mutual respect. Some ambassadors wanted to object, but they looked at the footage of the captured Valkorian fleet. They thought about human ships appearing from nowhere, disabling hundreds of vessels in minutes. They stayed silent. The galaxy was learning a lesson. Humanity had a long memory, and humanity always collected its debts. 6 months had passed since the capture of the Valkorian fleet. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Commander Thelvar stood in a courtroom on a neutral station. Judges from 12 different species sat before him. Behind him in the observation gallery, survivors from the Terran Belt watched with quiet intensity. The trial had lasted 3 months. Evidence had been presented. Witnesses had testified. Thelvar had been given every opportunity to defend his actions. He had nothing to say. The evidence was overwhelming. He had ordered the attack on civilian colonies. He had killed thousands of innocent people. He had laughed when humanity asked for mercy. The lead judge, an elder from the Karathi species, spoke. Commander Thelvar of the Valkorian Empire, this court finds you guilty of war crimes against sentient beings. You are sentenced to 50 years imprisonment and stripped of all military rank and honors. Thelvar bowed his head. He had expected death. The fact that humans had pushed for imprisonment instead of execution confused him. Why show mercy to someone who had shown them none? As guards led him away, he passed Yunseo in the corridor. She stood with her arms folded, watching him. Why? Thelvar asked quietly. Why let me live? Yunseo met his eyes. Because we are not like you. We do not seek revenge. We seek justice. There is a difference. She paused. Your son is 8 years old. He will grow up knowing that his father committed terrible crimes, but he will also know that humanity gave you a chance to atone. Maybe he will learn something from that. Maybe he will be better than you. Thelvar said nothing. The guards took him away. The Terran Belt was returned to humanity. The Valkorian Empire paid reparations. Families who had lost loved ones received compensation. It could not bring back the dead, but it was something. Slowly, carefully, humans began rebuilding their colonies. This time, Earth Defense Force ships patrolled the region. The message was clear. Humanity would not be caught unprepared again. But Admiral Jinwoo wanted more than just security for human space. He wanted to change the entire galaxy. He stood before the Galactic Union Council with Ambassador Hyejin at his side. Representatives from hundreds of species waited to hear what humanity would demand. We are proposing a new charter for the Galactic Union, Jinwoo began, one based on 3 simple principles. First, all species are equal, regardless of military power or technological advancement. Second, disputes must be resolved through negotiation and law, not force. Third, any species that attacks civilians will face immediate action from the entire Union. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Some species liked the ideas. Others worried about giving up their advantage. A Valkorian representative stood. She was young, appointed after the old government had been forced to resign. The Valkorian people accept these terms. We have learned a painful lesson. We support this charter. Other species began to agree. One by one, they voted in favor. The charter passed with overwhelming support. Humanity had done more than win a military victory. They had changed the rules of the galaxy itself. Yunseo returned to Earth for the first time in 3 years. She walked through the memorial built to honor those who died in the Terran Belt. Thousands of names carved into black stone. Captain Daeho Kim's name was at the top. She placed flowers at the base of the memorial. Other survivors gathered around, paying their respects. They had not forgotten. They never would. An old woman approached Yunseo. She was one of the colonists who had been evacuated from the first attack 5 years ago. She had been on the ship where Yunseo saved the Valkorian child. "I heard what you did," the old woman said. "How you captured their commander. How you got justice for all of us." She reached out and squeezed Yunseo's hand. "Thank you." Yunseo shook her head. "I was just doing my duty." "No," the old woman said firmly. "You remembered us. You made sure we were not forgotten. That matters more than you know." Later, Yunseo stood with Admiral Jinwoo on a platform overlooking Earth. The planet sparkled below them, peaceful and beautiful. Ships came and went from the orbital stations carrying trade goods and travelers. "Do you think it will last?" Yunseo asked. "The peace?" Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. "Maybe, maybe not. But they know now what happens when they cross humanity. They know we do not forget. They know we do not forgive betrayal." He smiled grimly. "Fear can be a good teacher." Yunseo nodded, but she hoped for more than fear. She hoped the galaxy would learn to respect humanity, not because they were afraid, but because humans had proven themselves worthy of respect. Time would tell. A year later, Ambassador He Jin addressed the Galactic Union one final time before retiring. She stood before the council and spoke with the wisdom of someone who had seen both the worst and best of what the galaxy could offer. When humanity first joined this union, we were naive. We believed that doing the right thing would be enough. We believed that kindness would be returned with kindness. We learned otherwise. She paused, looking at the assembled ambassadors. But we also learned that justice is worth fighting for, that the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak, that debts must be paid, both good and bad. She straightened her shoulders. Humanity will remember those who helped us in our darkest hours. We will stand beside them when they need us. But we will also remember those who betrayed us, those who laughed at our pain, those who thought we would simply disappear. Her voice grew stronger. The universe is vast. The galaxy is ancient. Many species have risen and fallen. But humanity is different. We adapt, we survive. We remember, and when pushed to our limits, we push back with a force that can shake the very foundations of the cosmos. She let those words hang in the air. Choose wisely how you treat humanity, because we never forget a debt, and our retaliation can rock the universe. The council chamber was silent. Every species understood the message. Humanity had proven themselves. They had earned their place among the stars, and they had shown that underestimating humans was the gravest mistake any species could make. Years passed. New colonies flourished. Trade routes expanded. Alliances formed. The galaxy moved into a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. But on every human ship, in every human settlement, in every school where human children learned about their history, one lesson was taught above all others. Remember. Remember the kindness shown by others. Remember the sacrifices made by heroes like Captain Deho. Remember the pain of betrayal. And above all, remember that humanity never forgets. In the Terran Belt, now thriving with life again, a new memorial stood. It honored both the dead and the living, both the victims and those who fought for justice. The inscription was simple. We are humanity. We endure, we adapt. We remember, cross us at your peril, for our retaliation can rock the universe. Yunseo visited the memorial every year on the anniversary of the attack. She was older now, her hair showing streaks of gray, but her eyes were still sharp, still watching, still remembering. A young girl approached her, maybe 7 years old. "Are you Yunseo Lee?" the girl asked shyly. "Yes," Yunseo replied. "My teacher says you saved the galaxy, that you made sure nobody could hurt us again." Yunseo smiled gently. "I did not do it alone. Many people fought for justice. Many people sacrificed everything." The girl nodded seriously. "I will remember them." "I promise." "Good," Yunseo said. "That is all we can ask. Remember the past, learn from it, and build a better future." The girl ran back to her family. Yunseo watched her go, feeling something she had not felt in years. Hope. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, and everyone knew that humans were not a species to be dismissed or underestimated. They were humanity. They never forgot, and their retaliation could rock the universe. Trade routes adjusted. Political alliances shifted. The Valkorians grew richer from mining the Terran Belt. Life continued. But on Earth, everything had changed. For the first time in human history, every nation united under a single purpose. There were no borders, no arguments about religion or politics or resources. Every human being on Earth had seen the footage of the Terran Belt burning. They had seen the bodies floating in space. They had watched Captain Deho die protecting people who would never thank him. Humanity unified around a simple idea: justice. Every factory on Earth converted to military production. Every scientist turned their knowledge toward one goal. Every resource was carefully managed and used. Humanity prepared for war. Admiral Jin-Woo Choi stood in the command center of the New Earth Defense Force. He was 50 years old with gray hair and scars from battles fought long ago. He had lost his wife and daughter in the Terran Belt attack. The pain never went away. He used it as fuel. Around him, holographic displays showed the progress of humanity's preparation. New ships, new weapons, new technology that would surprise the galaxy. Yoon Seo entered the command center. She looked different now. Harder. The kindness in her eyes had been replaced by cold determination. She had become the chief military strategist for Earth. "Admiral, the first batch of stealth frigates is ready," she reported. "All systems tested. They work better than we hoped." Jin-Woo nodded. "How many do we have?" 100. Each one can avoid detection by any scanner in the Union. They can get close to enemy ships without being seen. Good. What about the main fleet? Yoon Seo pulled up another display. It showed ships being constructed in orbit around Earth, dozens of them. They were not as large as Valkorian warships, but they were fast and heavily armed. 300 ships ready for combat, she said. Another 200 in final stages. We focused on speed and precision rather than size. Each ship has the new quantum missiles. One hit can disable a Valkorian cruiser. Jin-Woo studied the numbers. Humanity had worked miracles in 2 years. But was it enough? "We will not fight like the Valkorians expect," Jin-Woo said. "They think war is about big fleets and direct combat. They think the side with more ships wins." He smiled grimly. "We will teach them that humans fight differently." Yoon Seo understood. She had studied every major battle in galactic history. Most species fought the same way. Line up your ships. Fire until one side breaks. Simple, predictable. Humans would not be predictable. "When do we begin?" she asked. "Soon," Jin-Woo said. "But first we send a message." Small incidents began in Valkorian space. A supply convoy disappeared between jump points. No wreckage, no survivors, just gone. A week later, a communication relay station went dark. When Valkorian engineers arrived to fix it, they found it completely dismantled. Every piece of equipment had been carefully removed and taken away. Then a mining facility reported strange sensor readings. The readings vanished before anyone could investigate. The facility sent a message asking for help. No response came. When a patrol ship finally arrived 3 days later, the entire facility was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just silence. Commander Thelvar sat in his office on the Valkorian homeworld and read the reports. His advisors said it was probably pirates or equipment failure. The incidents were spread across vast distances. There was no pattern, but Thelvar felt uneasy. Something was wrong. Then he received a message. It came through an encrypted channel. No sender information, just 4 words. "Debts must be paid." Thelvar stared at the message for a long time. Could it be the humans? No, impossible. They were primitive, weak. They had barely any ships left after the Terran Belt attack, but the unease grew stronger. More incidents followed. A patrol fleet reported sensor ghosts, ships that appeared on scanners for a moment, then vanished. When the patrol went to investigate, they found nothing. A military base lost power for exactly 7 minutes. When power returned, all the security recordings had been erased. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was damaged, but someone had been there. Fear began to spread through Valkorian space. Soldiers reported seeing shadows on empty stations. Civilians whispered about ghosts. Command tried to maintain order, but even officers were nervous. Thelvar called an emergency meeting of his top commanders. "I want every ship on high alert. I want patrols doubled. I want answers." One of his officers, a younger commander named Velthar, spoke carefully. "Sir, there are rumors among the troops. They say humans are behind the incidents." Thelvar slammed his fist on the table. "Humans, they are nothing. A broken species hiding on their primitive world." "Yes, sir," Velthar said. but he did not sound convinced. That night, Thelvar sat alone in his quarters. His son was sleeping in the next room. The boy was 8 years old now. He did not remember the human woman who had saved his life. Thelvar had made sure of that, but Thelvar remembered. He remembered the blood on her hands. He remembered the desperate determination in her eyes. He remembered the ambassador's final words before leaving the Union. "You will discover what it means to have humanity as an enemy." Thelvar shook his head. No, humans were not capable of this. They did not have the technology. They did not have the numbers. They did not have the will. He was trying to convince himself. The next day, every species in the Galactic Union received a message. It broadcast on every frequency, appeared on every screen, echoed through every communication system. The message was simple. No threats, no demands. Just 3 words from Earth. "We are coming." The voice belonged to Admiral Jin Woo Choi. It was calm, cold, certain. Across the galaxy, species reacted differently. Some laughed. Some felt curious. Some remembered what humanity had been before the silence. And some felt afraid. Thelvar stood in his command center and stared at the message repeating on the screens. His hands gripped the edge of his desk until his knuckles turned white.